But no, that's just another bonus as to what I wanted to do here. Ultimately, I wanted to find my joy back, and that's very broad and can happen in a lot of different ways. But I truly feel like the people around me have helped me to love basketball again and compete at a high level and hold people accountable and challenge people and be vulnerable with people that I know love me and support me and care for me. And these girls have been able to do that. And in turn, it's helped me with my own confidence. So that's all I could ask for.
Right down here.
Sabrina Merchant, The Athletic. Martha, you just seem to have a really good matchup going for you today. I'm wondering what you saw just from the UVA defense that allowed you to be so successful. And then just really quickly, Olivia, what was that dance?
Thanks for tuning in to the Urban Scope podcast. And as you can hear from the clip, Olivia Miles of the TCU um, Horned Frogs talked about her excitement for finally being past the Sweet 16. And of course, when she was with Notre Dame, she went to 4 straight consecutive Sweet 16s, but could never pass the Sweet 16. Now, her teams were pretty stacked too. She had Hannah Hidalgo, who's doing very well. They just got out recently of the March Madness tournament, but she has like another year left. So we'll see what she can do next year. And then they had Sonia Citron, who went to the league. And then they had Maddie Westbell, who went to the league as well. And they had Kate Koval, who's at LSU now. So they've had a stacked team, especially last year, but they were unable to get out of the Sweet 16. Now, the women's basketball game, especially in college, it gets very narrow once you get to, the top 16 teams, of course. So, you have to deal with a UConn and a South Carolina, a LSU, what they have in their powerhouse. TCU had a pretty good team before Olivia Miles got there as well. You had UCLA, you had USC. So the top 16 teams and the rest of the team in the nation, there's a huge gap in competition. And Olivia Miles saw that firsthand, being at a pretty powerful college in Notre Dame that produced a lot of women stars that went to the WNBA. So, and I'll probably do a topic on that later. Is Notre Dame the best college basketball unit for the women's game? Because they've produced so many stars, and just have to take a look at what they've produced and what they have. But that's just a side note. But these comments were very interesting to me because, as anybody else would think, these comments seemed like they were geared towards her former team in the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Now, Olivia Miles, while she was there, she put up some great numbers, but she didn't put up the numbers like she did this year. She was averaging about 20 points a game, I believe about 7 assists, and I believe about 5 rebounds. And she had a whole bunch of triple doubles that she wouldn't be able to produce otherwise. And I'll talk about the reason for that in a little while. But were these comments geared towards Notre Dame as a whole, or was it geared towards just Neil Ivy or Neil Ivy and Hannah Hidalgo? Because a lot of people wonder why she transferred schools, but it seemed like from the press conference that she just listened to, that she needed a change, just a change of venue, a change of scenery. She needed something new because she was there for 4 years. And her fifth year, she just spent at TCU, which is a long time to spend in one locale, especially in the college game today with the NIL and with all of the different things that comes with that. So she was pretty loyal to that program for a while. And even then, I think she just had to leave so she can grow to see what her game could be, because she said she felt like she got her joy back and was around people that really cared about her. Now, anytime you leave one locale and go to another one and you speak glowingly of the new one, it's always seen as a shot at the previous location where you were at. So I think those comments come off that way. But from listen to her press conference, I think she really truly is happy at TCU. But at the same time, I think she did grow old of the old style that she was in the offense that she was in at her last location in Notre Dame. Because if you watch the game, not knowing them, you see that Hannah Hidalgo has a very high usage rate, even more so with Olivia Miles out, because she needs the basketball, comparable to any of those guys like a LeBron or any superstar that you can pretty much like Shea. All these guys pretty much need the basketball to orchestrate the offense, get their shots off, etc. So when you look at a Hannah Hidalgo, Olivia Miles has she's supposed to be the orchestrator offense. So somebody else having the basketball, she's pretty much subjected to just sitting around, you know, setting picks. But her game is predicated on so much more than that. Her passing ability. We've seen her shooting ability. She scored 40 points in the game. So she has that ability to do all these different things, but the scouts weren't able to see that. And I believe that's why she stayed that extra year. Because if she left last year, she would have been a top 3 pick. Now, in a couple of weeks, I'll make a discussion about the picks after the March Madness tournaments in to see where she should be drafted because I think she still should be a top 3 pick, if not a top 1 pick, just because of her skill set because I believe she would be more valuable to the Dallas Wings, who have the first pick, than even more so a AZ Fudd would be, because AZ Fudd is a jump shooter and primarily a jump shooter. Olivia Miles can shoot the three. She's taught herself to shoot that a lot better. She can pass the basketball. She can rebound as well. Defensively, she can work on a little bit, but that's most players before they get to the pros. But I think she'll figure that one out. But as far as her relationship, Olivia Miles's relationship with Hannah Hidalgo, I think it was somewhat similar to a Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook situation where Kevin Durant left because allegedly that he couldn't play in the Westbrook's wing anymore because he was very reckless with the basketball. He took a lot of shots, especially at the point guard position, especially when you have a guy in Kevin Durant who has such a great ability to score and be a big part of offense, but he wasn't allowed to do so. Most people feel from behind the scenes. Or was it a David Blatt LeBron situation where the player just got old, grew old with the coach and just didn't see the chemistry there anymore? Couldn't, needs to hear a new voice. Could have been that. So we might not never know these things, but it's one of those interesting things where Olivia Miles is, such a high class that she would never say. And she was just beyond it all. She outgrew the situation, I would say, at the bare minimum. But it seems like there's a little bit more there than just that because for her to speak about this at a press conference, I know she was excited to finally get out of the Sweet 16. And unfortunately, you know, they didn't do too well in the Elite Eight against South Carolina. But most teams wouldn't, other than maybe other 3 teams that are left. But, it's one of those things where you have to, I believe she had to leave in order to grow because you don't see the greatness of that superstar. So I was thinking about all of those groups that solo artists leave and how great we understand their solo careers were. So when you think about NSYNC and if Justin Timberlake never left NSYNC, will we know the greatness of a Justin Timberlake or Destiny's Child? If Beyonce never left Destiny's Child, will we know the true greatness of a Beyonce? Will she still have that star power? Even on um, a tier like even a One Direction, if Harry Styles never left, will we know what he is without that? So sometimes you have to leave the group in order to show your solo power because it's a group. And most people know that you can probably sing better than everybody else, but can you do it on a solo run? And that's one of the things that even happened with B2K when Omarion left. We knew Omarion was one of the top singers in the group and one of the top leaders, but could he do it on his own? Because we've seen some people go out on their own and not being able to be successful because they really needed the group. It doesn't happen too often, but there's been cases where people left the group, didn't do so good solo, and had to come back and recant everything they did. But I think this was a great move for Olivia Miles to leave TCU because she did get a little bit further. Unfortunately, she fell short, but I think she knows what she can do on a team that's not stacked and a team that's lesser, and she definitely helped a lot of those players get more looks, like the Silvas and all the other players that they had on their team. But she was the big face name, but all these other people got looks because of her game and her talent, so they got more TV games and more exposure to the WNBA. So I think a part of the reason why she left is in part to Hidalgo and part to Neil Ivy and just being old with the program. So hopefully we'll get the true story one day. But until then, until next time, I'll see you next time.